Welcome back to the show. It is Saturday, February 21st, 2026, and if you are listening to this right now, you are probably still trying to process the sheer volume of basketball we just witnessed in the source material from last night.
Oh, absolutely. It was sensory overload.
It really was. We are officially out of the All-Star break,
hmm
and usually, the league gives you a gentle ramp-up. You get a couple of those stakes games on a Thursday or Friday to let the players get their legs back, let the fans remember what the standings look like, a little ease-in period.
Yeah, that was absolutely not what happened last night. Not even
He
close.
went from 0 to 100 in about 3 hours. So today, we are doing a deep dive into this massive slate of games and all the data, the tracking numbers, and the post-game audio we have gathered as our source material. We have a lot of ground to cover.
A ridiculous amount of ground. Where do we even start?
Well, our mission for this deep dive is to extract the truth from a very noisy Friday night. We're going to start with our game of the night, which was that incredible Battle of L.A. The Lakers and Clippers gave us an absolute thriller, but the Clippers might have lost a lot more than just a single game.
That injury changes the entire landscape of the West. It really does.
We will get into all those details, including a massive tactical shift from the Lakers. Then we are moving into our statement performances segment. We have to talk about Portland, where the Denver Nuggets put up offensive numbers that, well, they look like a glitch in a video game.
I literally had to refresh the box score 3 times to make sure my app wasn't broken.
Plus the Timberwolves handing Dallas their 10th straight loss and the bizarre tank war happening in Washington. Finally, we will close out with the controversies and league impact, specifically Rich Paul's comments about Anthony Edwards being the greatest player in the league, placing him above Nikola Jokic.
Which is, it's agent posturing at its finest, but the numbers we have on that are fascinating.
They really are. And we'll hit some of the viral moments that blew up social media, too. So let's jump right in. We are heading to Los Angeles for the game of the night.
Let's do it. Crypto Arena was rocking.
The context here is massive for anyone tracking the playoff race. The Lakers came in at 34-21, putting them firmly in the mix for home court advantage. The Clippers were hovering at 27-29, fighting for their play-in lives. Regardless of the records, these Battle of L.A. games always carry a different weight.
They absolutely do. The intensity is just different.
But the real headline going into our source material for this game was the return of Luka. He has been out with that hamstring injury. Now, for the listener who hasn't ever dealt with a hamstring issue, it is incredibly tricky.
Oh, it's the worst.
It is not like a broken bone where it heals and you are good to go. It lingers.
Yeah.
It sits in the back of your mind and totally kills your explosiveness.
Well, actually, it kills your deceleration, which is even more important for a guy like him. Everyone always talks about the first step, right? But his entire game is about stopping on a dime, leaning back, and creating space. If you can't trust your hamstring to act as the brakes, you simply can't play your game.
Exactly. So looking at the tape and the data we have, the first question we have to answer for the audience is, did he look rusty at all?
Rusty. If that was rust, the rest of the Western Conference should be absolutely terrified right now. He didn't just look healthy. He looked like the entire nervous system of the Lakers offense was rebooted and upgraded.
He really did.
And just to be precise, for anyone new tuning into our deep dives, we are talking about Luka Doncic, pronounced Luka Doncic. He dropped 38 points, dished out 11 assists, and grabbed 6 rebounds.
But the raw counting stats don't always tell the real story, right?
Right.
You can get 38 points and still look sluggish if you need 35 shots to get there.
Right. Efficiency is everything. And it was the timing of the production that stood out in the tape. This wasn't empty calories in a blowout. He scored 12 critical points in the fourth quarter when the game had slowed down to an absolute grind.
That's when you need your alpha.
Exactly. I was looking at the tracking data on his isolation play specifically. His burst score, which measures acceleration from a standstill in the half court, it was actually higher last night than his season average before the injury.
Wow. Higher than before the injury.
Yeah. That tells me the rehab was perfect. He wasn't favoring the leg at all. He was attacking the paint, absorbing contact, and stepping back with zero hesitation. He shot 58.3% from the field. That is the kind of efficiency you dream of from a high-usage guard.
And it reflects in the advanced metrics, too. Based on the sources, he's currently ranked 4th overall in the league in net points at 190.02.
Which is staggering.
For those of you who aren't constantly glued to the spreadsheets like we are, let's unpack that metric. Net points estimate the total points a player has added to their team's margin of victory.
Right, so it combines scoring efficiency, Playmaking value meaning points created for others, and defensive impact.
To come back from a soft tissue injury and immediately post a net points game that high, it means he's not just easing back in, he is locked in for the playoff push.
He is, but honestly, while he was the headline, I feel like the real story of the game, the thing that actually decided the 125-122 outcome, happened on the other end of the floor.
The defensive adjustments.
Yes. J.J. Redick pulled a tactical card out of his sleeve that I don't think the Clippers were ready for at all. This is where the nerd in me gets really excited. We saw the Lakers utilize a 1-3-1 zone defense on nearly 18% of their defensive possessions.
Now, hold on. 18% might sound low to a casual listener.
Yeah.
But in the modern NBA,
It's massive. You usually see zone for maybe 2 or 3% of a game, usually just as a curveball after a timeout. To run it for almost a fifth of the game is a massive structural commitment.
okay, let's break this down simply for the listener. We hear zone defense, and we usually think of college basketball. Syracuse. Jim Boeheim.
Right, exactly.
Or maybe a desperation tactic when a team just cannot guard man-to-man. What does a 1-3-1 actually look like on the floor, and why is it so different from a standard zone?
Sure. So most fans know the standard 2-3 zone. That's where you have 2 guards up top and 3 bigs protecting the rim. That is a passive defense. You are packing the paint and daring teams to shoot over you.
Just building a wall.
Right. But a 1-3-1 is aggressive. It is designed to create chaos. Picture the court in your head. You have 1 player chasing the ball handler way out at the top. That's the point of the formation. You have 3 players stretched across the free throw line, extended the wings and the middle, and you have 1 guy patrolling the baseline back and forth. It looks like a giant cross.
And it's incredibly risky, right? Because the geometry of it means the corners are physically open if the ball moves fast enough.
It is so high risk. The corners are the shortest three-point shot on the floor, and they are the natural weak spots of a 1-3-1. If the offense swings the ball to the corners quickly, you give up wide open threes.
So why do it?
Redick used it specifically to disrupt the Clippers' rhythm. The Clippers are a team that thrives on isolation and pick-and-roll creation. They want to dribble, probe the defense, find a mismatch, and attack. The 1-3-1 forces you to pass.
It takes the ball out of the creator's hands.
Exactly. It forces you to think, where is the gap? Rather than just instinctively reacting to the primary defender in front of you.
So it turns the possession into a chess match instead of a boxing match. You're forcing them to process information rather than playing on pure instinct.
And the data totally backs this up. This strategy has helped the Lakers climb their defensive rating from the absolute bottom of the league all the way up to 12th recently.
12th is a huge jump.
It is. And last night, it stalled the Clippers just enough. You could see them hesitating on the tape. They were swinging the ball around the perimeter, eating up the shot clock, and taking contested jumpers with 4 seconds left because they couldn't find a driving lane. It was a masterclass in changing the geometry of the floor to hide your own weaknesses.
It worked brilliantly. But, and we have to address the elephant in the room here, the game changed drastically with 5 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, the vibe in the arena just plummeted.
Kawhi Leonard goes down and exits with an ankle issue, and we have to impartially report what we saw in the source material. Up until that exact moment, he was undeniably the best player on the floor.
He was cooking them. He had 31 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, shooting over 52% from the field. He had a net points rating of 176.64 coming into this stretch, which is top 5 elite status.
When he limped to the locker room, it felt like the leverage shifted entirely to the Lakers. It went from this amazing heavyweight fight where both teams are trading haymakers to a pure survival situation for the Clippers.
Because without Kawhi, who is your release valve? Who is the guy you just hand the ball to when the offense stalls and say, go get us a bucket?
They had to lean on Benedict Mathurin.
Right, and Mathurin had a great game. He dropped 26 points. But he eventually fouled out. You are asking a guy who is still developing his clutch gene to go toe-to-toe with Luka and LeBron James in the final 5 minutes of a one-possession game. That is a huge mismatch in experience and poise.
The Clippers just lost their gravity.
They really did. But let's talk about the Lakers' execution down the stretch. Because we expect the closing moments to be the Luka and LeBron show.
Naturally.
And LeBron had a solid game, a quiet double-double with 13 points and 11 assists. But he wasn't the one hitting the daggers.
It was Marcus Smart.
The clutch offense for Marcus Smart. Who had that on their bingo card for this season?
Definitely not me. I did not draft Marcus Smart for his closing floaters, that's for sure.
He hit 2 incredibly high difficulty baskets late to seal the win, and that is the luxury the Lakers have built. When you double Luka to get the ball out of his hands, the ball finds the open man. Usually, defenses will happily live with Marcus Smart taking a contested floater. They will trade that for a Luka step back every single time.
But last night, Smart made them pay.
He did. If he is hitting those tough shots, the defense literally has no answers left.
Even with Smart's heroics, the Clippers still had a shot at the very end. The final sequence was pure chaos.
It was messy. The Clippers actually steal the inbound pass from LeBron James. Think about that. LeBron, one of the smartest basketball minds in history, coughs it up in a critical moment.
A super rare lapse.
Very rare. So the Clippers have a chance to tie. The ball swings to Nicholas Batum for a game-tying 3.
And he misses it. Clanks it off the iron.
A game of inches. If that shot falls, we are talking about a Clippers miracle today. Instead, we are talking about a Lakers statement.
Before we move on to the statement performances segment, I have to ask if you caught the headset moment with Austin Reeves. This was blowing up in the source material we pulled from social media last night.
Oh, the Reddit threads were going crazy over this. It was classic.
Austin Reeves, who, by the way, dropped 29 points. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
He is doing the post-game TV interview on the court. He puts the heavy headset on to talk to the studio crew. And apparently, Charles Barkley is in the studio talking trash about the Lakers.
Right.
Or maybe about Reeves specifically. It wasn't entirely clear what Chuck said, but it definitely wasn't complimentary. Reeves hears it, takes the headset off mid-interview, and basically uses it as fuel.
I saw the quote circulating. He said, talking bad about the team got Austin locked in.
It perfectly adds to that chip on his shoulder.
Exactly. Reeves isn't just a role player anymore. He is a guy who feeds off conflict. 29 points on 50% shooting. If he is your third or fourth option behind Luka and LeBron, you are in a very, very good spot as a franchise.
So let's zoom out and synthesize this first segment. I want to challenge your conclusion a bit here.
Yeah.
The Lakers win. Great. It's a W in the standings. But does this actually prove they are true contenders? Or did they just barely survive a Clippers team that lost its best player in the final 5 minutes?
That is a completely fair pushback.
Because if Batum hits that shot or if Kawhi stays healthy and closes the game, are we talking about the Lakers choking today?
It's easy to play the what-if game. But my take is you play who is in front of you. You cannot control ankle injuries. What you can control is your tactical execution.
Fair enough.
That 1-3-1 zone defense versatility, combined with a healthy Luka putting up near 40-point triple-doubles, makes them incredibly dangerous. Yes, the Clippers were hurt late, but the Lakers matched the intensity in a rivalry game where they historically look flat. Winning this game with the pressure on matters for their playoff positioning, it's a statement of competence.
It is definitely a momentum builder. But speaking of statements, we have to transition to segment 2 and leave Los Angeles. We are heading north to Portland, Oregon. Because what happened at the Moda Center, it was not a basketball game. It was a demolition.
It was a crime scene, an offensive history lesson.
The Denver Nuggets, 157. The Portland Trail Blazers, 103.
Just absurd number.
157 points. That is the most points scored on the road in Nuggets franchise history. It is the most points in any NBA game this entire season. I have seen all-star games with significantly more defensive resistance than this. What actually happened out there?
I wrote down scoring blitz in my notes, but honestly, that feels like an understatement. Let's break down the quarter splits because they are mind-boggling. Usually a team has one hot quarter, right? They drop 40 in the first and then regress to the mean.
Right, they cool off.
Denver scored 41 points in the first quarter. Then they scored another 41 points in the second quarter. They had 82 points at halftime.
82 at the half. There are NBA teams in the 90s era who would struggle to hit 82 points in a full 48 minutes.
And then, just to prove it wasn't a fluke, they came out of the locker room and hung 43 points in the third quarter. They didn't stop until the game was essentially over and the third string checked in.
It was completely relentless.
Surgical is the word. They started the game shooting 13 of 22 from 3. They finished 21 of 41 from deep. That is over 50% volume shooting from beyond the arc. When a team is hitting transition corner threes at that clip, you almost just have to shake their hands and walk to the bus. There is no defense for perfectly executed offense.
And at the center of it all, conducting the orchestra, was the Joker.
Nikola Jokic, for anyone unsure, that's pronounced Nikola Jokic, was masterful. He finished with 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists.
Ho-hum numbers for him, honestly.
Right, but here's the key stat that blows my mind. He did all of that in under 30 minutes of playing time. He barely broke a sweat in the fourth quarter. He was sitting on the bench with a towel draped over him while the scoreboard just kept ticking up. His plus-minus was plus 42.
Let's quickly explain plus-minus for the listener who might see that number and not grasp the sheer magnitude of it, because plus 42 sounds high. But how high is it really?
Plus-minus simply tracks the point differential when a specific player is on the court. So if the game is tied when you check in and you check out with your team up by 10, you are plus 10.
Got it.
A plus 42 means that in the roughly 29 minutes he was on the floor, Denver outscored Portland by 42 points. That is dominance personified. It implies that every minute he sat, the game was roughly even, but the second he stepped on the wood, it was a blowout of epic proportions.
And it wasn't just him doing the heavy lifting.
No, the bench production was massive. Julian Strawther chipped in 19 points. When you have your role players scoring 19 and your MVP playing under 30 minutes, that is the perfect regular season night. It preserves legs for the playoffs and builds immense confidence.
Now, we have to look at the other side of this. Portland. Giving up 157 points. Is that just bad luck? Is it just Denver shooting the lights out? Or is that a systemic structural failure on the Blazers' part?
It was absolutely a structural failure. Denver exploited Portland's lack of interior communication mercilessly. Jokic operates from that high post area, and Portland just lost on their rotations. They didn't know whether to double, whether to switch, or whether to drop back.
And the turnovers didn't help.
They committed over 20 turnovers, and Denver just ran the ball right back down their throats. Deni Avdija tried his best. He had 15 points and 13 assists, but he also had a pile of those turnovers and really struggled defensively against Strawther.
So is this just a case of Portland being a bad rebuilding team, or is Denver peaking at exactly the right time?
It is definitely a bit of both. Portland is struggling, yes, but Denver's efficiency signals something much bigger. When Jokic is plus 42 and Jamal Murray adds 25 points with a plus 38, that signals they are locked in for the stretch run.
They aren't just winning games, they are executing at a championship level.
They looked bored with excellence, which is actually a terrifying sight for the rest of the Western Conference. When a team drops 157 and doesn't even look like they are trying that hard, that is championship DNA.
Bored with excellence is a fantastic way to phrase it. Let's stay in the West for our next statement performance, because another team made huge waves last night. The Minnesota Timberwolves.
They are looking so dangerous.
They are now 35-22, and they took down the Dallas Mavericks 122-111, which means Dallas is officially in freefall. That is 10 straight losses for the Mavs.
10 straight. It is absolute panic time in Dallas.
But the story here isn't the Mavericks' collapse. It is the Timberwolves' ascension, specifically Anthony Edwards. Pronounced Anthony Edwards, though most people just know him as Ant-Man.
He was spectacular. 40 points, 6 rebounds, and a plus 15 on the night. He completely controlled the tempo. And we have to look at the context of who he was playing against. Dallas is struggling, but they still have veterans on the floor.
Right. Chris Middleton had 18 points.
Marvin Bagley had a double-double with 15 and 13. But Edwards looked like he was playing an entirely different sport out there. He was attacking the rim violently, hitting the pull-up three, barking at the Dallas bench.
He really cements himself as that alpha dog every single night. It feels like he's taken that leap from all-star to true superstar, that upper tier where you don't just put up fantasy numbers, but you actively determine the outcome of the game through sheer will.
Exactly. This performance cements Minnesota as a heavyweight. They aren't a cute regular season story anymore. They have the elite defense, they have the size, and now they have the perimeter closer who can go get you 40 when the half-court offense bogs down.
Meanwhile, Dallas falls to 1936. Absolutely spiraling. Now, I want to pivot to a game that maybe didn't have the grand playoff implications of Lakers-Clippers, but it was fascinating for a completely different reason.
Oh, the tank war.
Yes. The Washington Wizards beat the Indiana Pacers 131-118, and we are calling this the tank war paradox based on the source material we reviewed.
This was easily the most bizarre game of the night.
Explain this to the listeners, because on paper, a Wizards win is a good thing, right? Fans like winning. Players like winning. Why is this being called a paradox?
Because in theory, winning is the goal of sports.
Yep.
In reality, absolutely not for these specific franchises right now. Both fan bases essentially wanted to lose this game to improve their draft lottery odds.
The race to the bottom.
Exactly. The lower you finish in the standings, the higher your percentage chance of getting the #1 pick. So you have this weird dynamic where the fans are actively rooting for their own team to miss shots.
So the fans desperately want to lose.
Yeah.
But the players on the floor.
The players do not care about draft picks at all. They are playing for their livelihoods. And the headline here is Alonzo Williams, pronounced Elondes Williams. He is on a 10-day contract. He is fighting for his NBA life out there.
He has zero incentive to tank.
None. He drops 25 points, grabs 10 rebounds, and dishes 4 assists. And he did all of that, taking only 11 shots. That is efficiency you almost never see from a guy just trying to make a roster spot.
A 10-day contract guy dropping 25 and 10 on 11 shots is completely absurd.
That's the paradox. The Wizards coaching staff is playing these G League call-ups, probably thinking, okay, we'll get these guys some reps, take a quiet loss, maintain our draft position, and go home.
But the developmental guys played too well.
Washington's G League affiliates came in and ran a cleaner, more efficient offense than their regular starters usually do. It is hilarious and deeply frustrating all at once.
And the fans are furious about the win.
Furious. You check the Wizards subreddits and forums, and there are threads begging Adam Silver to fix the lottery system. Because winning with developmental players like Alonzo actually hurts the franchise's future by ruining their draft position. They are genuinely mad that they scored 131 points.
It highlights the perverse incentives in the league right now. When you have a system where success on the court is punished and failure is rewarded with top prospects, you get bizarre nights like this.
It is a wild system where winning literally equals losing.
It really is.
Wow.
And that perfectly transitions us into segment 3. Because speaking of systems, hierarchies in the draft, we have some serious controversy brewing off the court regarding a player who went #1 overall a few years ago, Anthony Edwards.
Ah, yes. Rich Paul found a live microphone.
He sure did. Rich Paul, arguably the most powerful agent in sports right now, made massive headlines yesterday. He claimed that Anthony Edwards is the greatest player in the league, not one of the best, the absolute greatest.
A bold claim.
And he specifically placed him above Nikola Jokic. The exact quote from the source material is, "I love Jokic, but give me Anthony Edwards."
Look, I love Ant. We just spent 5 minutes praising his 40-point masterpiece against Dallas. I think he is the future of the league, but we have to bring some actual data to this debate.
Please do. Let's impartially report the facts here.
Rich Paul is doing his job. He's hyping his client, building the brand. But is it factual? Let's look at the net points metric from the tracking data again. Right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is #1 in the league with a score of 351.85.
Okay, SGA is #1.
Nikola Jokic is #2 at 247.15. Do you know where Anthony Edwards is on that list?
Where does he sit?
He is 7th. Now, being the 7th best player in the world mathematically is amazing. That is elite territory. But there is a massive statistical gap between 247 for Jokic and where Edwards sits.
So the data says Jokic is far more impactful.
Far more. Jokic's impact on winning evidence by that +42 in Portland last night versus Edwards +15 against Dallas is just objectively higher. Jokic controls the entire ecosystem of a basketball game. He makes the 4 guys around him significantly better. Edwards is a dynamic scorer and a growing leader, but he doesn't bend the entire reality of the court the way Jokic does yet.
So what is Paul's actual argument then? Is it just an aesthetic thing? Is it about the highlight reel or who you want taking the last shot in a tied game?
It is the face of the league argument. Paul is talking about the aesthetic, the community leadership, the pure swagger. Edwards has that massive American star power, the explosive dunks, the charisma, the viral post-game interviews.
And Jokic is the exact opposite of that.
Jokic just wants to go home and hang out with his horses. He doesn't care about the fame or the endorsements. Rich Paul is arguing for the cultural greatest player, while the stats clearly point to Jokic or SGA as the basketball greatest player.
So it's pure agent marketing.
Plain and simple. But Ant's 40-point night certainly helps him make the case that he is actively closing the gap. If he keeps putting up those numbers, the conversation gets a lot more legitimate.
It is a debate that isn't going away anytime soon. And honestly, it is great for the league to have that rivalry of styles. Now, before we wrap up, let's hit some quick viral moments from around the league last night because NBA social media was absolutely on fire.
It was a meme factory. First off, we have to talk about Jared McCain in Oklahoma City.
The rookie.
The rookie. The Thunder beat Brooklyn 105-86, and McCain scores a quick 21 points. But it wasn't the scoring output that went viral, it was the post-game interview. He literally barked directly into the camera.
Barked. Like, actually barked like a dog.
Like a literal dog, just woof woof right into the lens. And it has instantly become this symbol of the new energy in OKC. They are 43-14 on the season, sitting at the top of the West, and they had this young, wild, unbridled energy.
They're the youngest team in the league.
And they are blowing veteran teams out of the water. McCain barking is just the perfect encapsulation of a team that is hungry and having fun. They aren't trying to act cool, they are just playing hard and enjoying it.
I love that. It gives them a real identity. What about down in Miami? I saw the word Demlo-ish trending, and I was so confused.
Oh, this is peak internet culture.
Yeah.
So Miami beats Atlanta 128-97, absolute blowout. Tyler Herro comes back into the lineup, scores 24 points, and totally sparks the offense.
Right.
But in the post-game thread on Reddit, someone made a typo in the main title. Instead of the word demolish, they wrote Demlo-ish. Demlosh. And the Heat fans have just entirely embraced it.
That is amazing.
It is their new battle cry. When they blow a team out now, they didn't beat them, they Demlo-ish them. It is one of those nonsensical internet subculture things that makes NBA fandom so entertaining. It bonds the community over a silly typo.
And we cannot forget the Joker's flop. Even on a historic scoring night, he manages to bring the physical comedy.
This was so funny to watch. In the middle of that 157-point rout, Denver is up by 40 points. Jokic gets the ball and attempts a wild half-court shot. Not because the shot clock was running down, but because he was trying to bait a foul call from the official.
Up by 40.
He flails his arms, chucks it from half-court, obviously doesn't get the call, and the entire Portland crowd starts chanting, "Flopper." It was pure comedy. The guy is the MVP of the league. His team is up by 40, and he is trying to grift a 3-shot foul from 50 feet away. You have to respect the commitment to the bit.
He is truly one of a kind. And finally, we had the Rudy Gobert moment.
The shot heard round the world. Well, almost. Rudy Gobert in the fourth quarter against Dallas nearly makes a legitimate three-pointer. It rattled in and popped out.
The internet exploded over that.
People were claiming that if Rudy Gobert actually hit a three in a real game, basketball, as we know it would end, the simulation would crash. We were inches away from the apocalypse.
We were inches away from the apocalypse. All right, bringing it back to a slightly more serious note to close out our deep dive today. We talked earlier about the Wizards and Pacers tank war. There is a growing sentiment online about how the league needs to fix this, because having fans actively root against their own team is just bad for the product.
Yeah, this directly links back to the perverse incentives we discussed. There was a really interesting debate in the daily discussion threads about tying arena ticket prices to a team's win percentage.
That is a fascinating concept.
The idea being, if a front office decides to tank, they lose money at the gate immediately because they are forced to sell tickets for dirt cheap to match the poor product on the floor.
That would certainly incentivize owners. If losing costs you revenue right away, you might try a lot harder to put a winning product out there.
Because right now, you have Washington fans who are angry about a 131-point outburst. When your paying customers are mad that the product you gave them is too good, your structural incentives are broken.
It's totally backwards.
While it's highly unlikely the league would ever enforce dynamic pricing like that, it is way too complex logistically. It shows just how exhausted the fans are with the race to the bottom. They want to see guys like Alonzo Williams succeed, but the system tells them they should want him to fail.
It is a major problem the league has to keep an eye on moving forward. All right, that wraps up our deep dive into a wild, historic Friday night in the NBA. Denver makes history with 157 points. The Lakers survive the Battle of L.A. with a brand new defensive identity, and the tanking race gets weirder by the day.
And looking ahead, Sunday is going to be incredibly fun. The Nuggets host Golden State. Curry versus Jokic is always a show, especially with Denver's offense humming like this, and the Blazers will try to recover as they head down to Phoenix.
I cannot wait for those matchups. Take us out with a final thought for the listener to chew on.
The Lakers found a defense, Denver found a record book, and Rich Paul found a microphone. But you have to remember, only one of those things actually guarantees you a championship ring.
That is the truth. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we will see you next time.